Alright guys, I got a 2011 Nissan Versa. Has the 1.8 engine in it. And I'm just going to try to give you guys a little help on how to change the oil in it. And especially what you would need to change the oil so it would be a lot faster. And you guys can get it done and be done with it. Okay, you guys are going to need a set of ramps. I use the Rhinos, they're plastic. Then you guys are going to need 14mm socket. I use cobalt just because that's what I have, with a 1/2 inch ratchet. You don't have to use a 1/2 inch, it just makes it easier while you're under there breaking the oil plug loose. You're going to need a funnel. You're going to need 4.1 quarts of oil. Yep, I'm supporting Walmart. 5 weight 30. It's got over 75,000 miles on it, so I use the high mileage. I have a Super Tech oil filter. There's a number if you guys wanted to use it. I also have a Hyper Tough socket, as most people call them, wrenches. It is a 65 to 67mm filter wrench. And I also have a 3/8 inch ratchet for it. I also have a black marker, as you'll see why in the video. You can also use a set of channel locks for the oil filter if you don't have this bad boy. This makes it so much easier, but you can use this if you have to. And you also will need a flathead screwdriver to take the plastic clips off the bottom, or a razor blade like I did and just cut it out before you can see it and get to it a lot easier. And you're also going to need a drain pan, which these are the better ones in my opinion. It's easier, don't make as much as a mess. And of course you're going to need some rags and some gloves if you don't want to get your hands dirty. But this is all that you will need, guys. Change the oil. Alright guys, quick little tip. When you're going to get up on the ramps, go ahead and slide your ramps up under your tar. See, it gives you a lot more, it's a lot easier to pull up on it. When you're going to pull up on it, you will feel it. You'll feel a little bit of a hump as it drops down into that little platform up on top right here. And you'll feel it hit this, which is this little spot right here. That's the best way and the easiest way to do it without dropping off the ramps, because it will happen. And I know a lot of you guys are probably watching this video and thinking, well, yeah, you should know that. Some people don't, because they just have never had to change their oil. It's just natural. I wouldn't change mine if I could afford it. But that's the easiest way to do it. Just slide it straight up under there and pull on up. Now, if you've got a car that's a little bit lower and its front's trying to hit the ramp, take your a board and bring it on back. Lay it about right in here and take it out that way. And it'll make the ramp a lot easier to pull up on, and it won't hit the front up here. See, mine's almost doing it, but it's not, so I'm good. But some cars, you have to make the ramp a little bit longer. Alright, when you pull your car up on a set of ramps like this, always pull the emergency brake. And also while you're at it, put something on the back side of the tire, on the rear, because it can happen, it can roll off. So at least you have 3 different ways to protect yourself before you crawl up under there. And also when you're doing this, go ahead and take the drain plug off right here. Just twist it off, because it drains so much easier when you do that. And another good tip is put your sizes on your car up under the hood. It's under the back side, nobody sees it, just you or whoever else is going to change your oil for you. See, I got it right here, 14mm, 4.1 quarts. It makes it so much easier, because there ain't nothing worse than climbing up under there and you got the wrong size socket, especially when you're doing it by yourself. And also, if you're using this type of jug to catch the oil, you're probably gonna laugh. Make sure you twist this off. It can be bad. And it has happened. I have forgot it. Okay, right here is the oil drain plug for the engine. It's right here. And there is the oil filter. Now, I actually took a razor blade and cut this little piece of plastic right here because it was a pain in the butt to get to it without it. Because you got to take every one of these little bolts off right here. This little bolt, this little bolt. It goes all the way around until you get right here. Now this right here is these little plastic clips. You can buy a tool off Amazon for it, but I usually just would take a flathead screwdriver, pry it up, and it'll come up, and usually you can take your finger and pop it, and it'll come right off, and then it slides out. You got one there and one there, and then you got these bad boys right here, and this one, and this one, and like I said, there's two of the plastic clips. Actually, one of mine's out, and there's one right there. You can actually take just the plastic clips off, and you can bend it down, and you can get up into there to get to the oil filter. It's a pain in the butt. It's a pain in the butt taking this plastic off too. But you can just do like I did if you really want to. You can take a razor blade, slice it out just enough so you can reach up in there and get it. It makes it a lot easier. Alright, when you're taking your drain plug off, the old country saying is, lefty loosey, righty tighty, guys. Take it to the left. Till it gets to the point where your ratchet don't want to turn no more. It just turns the whole thing, then you can take your finger. Now, if you've been driving it, it will be hot. But if you haven't been driving it, it won't be too bad. But now, one thing you got to do, you got to make sure you put your jug far enough, because it's going to shoot out a little bit. So make sure you're going to give enough room for it to squirt out real fast, because it will squirt out fast. And you're going to get it on your hands unless you have gloves on, which I should be doing because I have a phone in my hand. And there it is. Alright, I've let all the oil drain out. Just let it drain until there's nothing, not even really a stream, maybe like a drip coming out of it. Then move your bucket out of the way. Then when you tighten it as tight as you can get it with your hands first. Then, you know, righty tighty, lefty loosey. And when you tighten it, do not tighten this too tight. Snug it. You know, you can feel like, I can feel it getting this a little tight. You don't, if a ratchet like this, you will destroy it. I cannot stress enough not to tighten this too tight. Just get it good and snug. I mean, I could easily just crank the crap out of this, but don't. You will mess it up. You just want to get it just a little tight. Okay. Now, I got the ratchet up on here with the socket for the filter. The best way I found to do this is, everybody might have their own way of doing it, but I usually stick the filter socket on there first, then I put the wrench on there. And like I said, make sure it's set up to go lefty loosey, righty tighty. Then just loosen it up. Now you will get oil, especially with this type of car. There's no stopping it. I usually just stick a rag up in there. Or you can also, the way this one's actually set up, you can pull your drain bucket up under it and it hits the plastic. Hits the plastic right here and hits in the bucket and drains out. But after you get it so loose with the ratchet, you can feel it starting to get to the point where it's like really easy to loosen. You can usually just reach your hand up in there. And get to the point where it can come off really easy. And I'm saying that, and that stupid thing's stuck. Alright, once you get this loose as you can get it with your hand, I mean, you can feel it. Like I can move it with my finger. I can just move it back and forth. Stick your hand up in there, push that little button right there, and it releases the socket. Now just take your hand and twist it completely off. Now once you loosen this up so much, see, it'll start pouring out, and there's really nothing you can do about it. It will go. See, mine actually hits this, and it's actually running down into the bucket. There's nothing else you can really do about it. You can just let it drain. It'll do its thing. Alright, this is the new oil filter. I always like to take some of the new oil, get it on my finger, and there's a little rubber gasket seal goes on this. I usually try to put a little bit of oil on it. It helps it seal. And also, when you're doing taking the oil filter off, the old oil filter off, take a rag. After you take the old oil filter off, which is right here where it was at, take a rag or something and wipe around that seal right there. It's just a bare spot of metal pretty much, but that seal off of your new oil filter right there goes up against that. It makes a lot better seal. So clean off all of the debris that's up there and all the mud and the gunk and stuff that's on that. And then when you twist this oil filter on, it goes on a lot easier. And I cannot stress more than anything, guys, do not over tighten your oil filter. It's supposed to be hand tight, then just a little bit more than hand tight. So you tighten it as tight as you can get it with your hand, then just try to make it just a little bit more, maybe a quarter of a turn, which is really not a lot. If you over tighten it, the next person who goes and changes your oil will pay for it dearly, because they are hard to get off when you over tighten them. Alright, I put the new oil filter on, I tightened it hand tight, then a quarter past hand tight, and I made sure that I tightened the drain plug up. So my two things under the car is done, and I've double checked to make sure both of them is fixed and tightened like they should be. Then we come up to here, put our funnel in where the oil goes. Alright, this is 5 quarts of oil. Now how this works is, when you're pouring the oil in, when the line gets here, you still have 4 quarts of oil. When it gets here, you have 3. Right here, you have 2. Then if it gets down to here, as you can see it, you'll see it right here. You still have 1 quart. Well, this takes 4.1. I marked it, give or take. It's about right in there, and it should be right there when you get done pouring. Because you can see the line right here. That's how much oil is in it. That's 5 quarts of oil. So once you start pouring it, you got to go kind of slow, because you don't want to overfill it. Alright, finished filling it up. As you can see, that's where the oil is. That's the mark. That means I have a little bit less than 1 quart of oil left. This took 4.1, so that's what I needed. Alright, make sure you come over here, take the drain off, or the funnel off. Make sure you tighten this up. If you don't, it comes loose. It'll throw oil everywhere. It'll lock your motor up if you run out of oil. Now, I didn't change the air filter, but if you have to change the air filter on this car, said, it's 2011 Nissan Versa with the 1.8. It's simple right here. Little clip on the side right here. There's another little clip on the other side, identical to the one I just popped. This pops out. And this pulls right up out. Take your finger right here, pull the filter down a little bit. It pulls straight out. Just make sure you stick the filter right back in the same way. Stick it right down in there. Push it back down. And it'll pop up like that, but once this slides in, it's got a little groove, pops it up. Pop it right back in, make sure both sides are popped. And you're good to go. And that's pretty much how you change the oil on a 2011 Nissan Versa with the 1.8 engine.